Hi guys, Road Mario here, and Prime 4 is like right around the corner. I honestly can't believe that. It's been it's been a very long time since we got the announcement trailer back in 2017. From my personal experience, I had just become a real Metroid fan by that point, Samus Returns being my first game that I had gotten on release. Which I still have the amiibo. But it's been really breathtaking to see how close it is and how good it looks. Like, I don't know if you've seen it. Go watch the tree. Stop watching this video right now. Pause this video. Go watch the treehouse. Go watch Treehouse in 4K and then come back, bro. Go watch the intro at least, for fuck's sake. But but it really is everything I could have wanted, and it really doesn't even feel like it's real. I've watched the treehouse intro over 100 times by this point. The music alone, it hits so undeniably hard that it's infected a lot of my discussions, and it's completely changed. Like, I had originally made another video and I was getting ready to record it. This video took over. But to explain this video, it's sort of a wishlist and expectations video, kind of like how I did with Black Ops 6 back a few months ago. But I broke it into two different parts. The first one is realistic, and my realistic expectations and what I would want to see. And then the second part is unrealistic and more of a fanboy type shit, because obviously I'm a Metroid fan and I have to do that stuff. So the first thing on the list is stacking beam upgrades. I assume, based on what we've seen so far, that it looks very much like Prime 3, and likely by what the HUD looks like, we're not going to get beam upgrades that change. Like, you're not going to be able to switch to the plasma beam or the dark beam or whatever the beams are. So it's very likely that we'll see upgrades for beams and they stack together to make like things like the plasma and the nova beam from Prime 3, especially, you know, after the 27th trailer, or the March 27th trailer. In respect to what type of beams, I would argue that the wave beam is the most likely as a returning main beam due to being the same color as the psionic abilities that Samus gains, but it's likely that we're going to get new beams, or we're not going to see much of anything like that. So, it's left open to interpretation. I would also argue that if we were to see anything related to some sort of ice attack, it would most likely be returning ice missiles due to the same idea, but I don't think we'll see that in this one. Maybe you get the free stuff with your sonic abilities, but 2 suit upgrades. As in standard, since Prime, I can't fucking speak. As in standard in the Prime series, except for Hunters, I expect to see 2 new suits, or 2 suit upgrades from the Varia suit, because in Prime 1 we had the Phazon suit and the Gravity suit, or the Gravity suit then the Phazon suit. In Prime 2 we had the Dark and the Light suit, and then Prime 3 we had the PED, or the Phazon Enhancement Device, and then we had the PED Hazard Shield, or the Phazon Enhancement Device Hazard Shield. Editor's note, while I'm editing, I meant to pull up a Prime 4 image to show off the Varia suit, and this motherfucking image showed up because I forgot I had it on my computer. And then in Prime 4, so far we've gotten the new Varia suit, which I don't really consider a new suit, it's just a coloration difference. And then the new red and black suit we saw at the end of the trailer. I very much assume that, you know, as I said, that the new Varia suit is not really a new Varia suit. But even if it is, I know that whatever Retro is cooking will entirely enjoy it, because let me just check my tier list here. Hang on. Okay. So let's take a look at my tier list here. All right. We got in my top 10 suits, we have the dark suit, the PED hazard shield, the light suit, the Phazon suit, and the PED suit. I'm a very big fan of their custom suits and the ones that they make, so I'm expecting it to hit hard. And so far, the black and red suit, as you'll see with the reaction comp, it's hitting hard. Okay. We don't talk about Hunters for Federation Force. Speaking of new suits, I also assume we'll see a new suit ability of some sort, like how in Prime 2 there was the underwater booster, or in Prime 3 that there was the magnetic ledge grab. I know it's probably just going to be the psychic abilities, but I thought it would be cooler to have something related to the suit itself be a new suit ability. Speaking of suit abilities and things like that, I assume we'll see returning items, but specifically, I'd assume... What the fuck am I saying? I assume we'll see power bombs, the boost ball, and the screw attack return. The boost ball especially, because it's literally the prime morph ball. There is no prime morph ball without the boost ball. Power bombs are a pretty obvious one. It's progression. It's how you get through Mendenzium. Sorry about that, I got very much interrupted while I was in the middle of that that point. But the sewer attack, it's a very obvious upgrade to the movement system, and you know, the 5 jumps are kind of important for certain movement opportunities in Prime 2 and Prime 3, so it'd be a little weird not to see it. I know it wasn't in Prime 1, and I don't know if they've been working on Prime 2 and 3 in the background, because we haven't seen anything but the remix, but it just makes sense. Originally, I had started this part of the... because if it is obvious, I have a script. Originally, I started this with a grapple beam, but I don't actually know if we'll see it. I assume we'll see some sort of type of grapple beam, whether it's in the game or not, but we haven't seen it yet. Especially after Prime 3, you're kind of relying on it, and it kind of being part of the main gimmick point of some of the trailers due to its motion controls. It's a little weird we haven't seen the grapple beam. Now, this might be because we have some sort of psionic whip, or a psychic whip or something like that, but I assume we'll see some sort of grapple beam at some point or another. It's just, they're just not showing us yet. And then, for the final ability that I assume we'll see returning, the Shock Coil. I get this is probably the most out there point I'm doing for realistic, but it's Sylex's weapon that we get from Prime Hunters, and since he's in the game, it's a possible alternative weapon. Now, would this bring back the universal ammo? I just couldn't tell you, but assume it, since we have the weapon wheel in the bottom left, you could probably swap it between missiles and the shock coil, and if ice missiles returned, you would also be able to swap between ice and normal missiles. Assumedly, that's what would happen. Now, another thing I expect at least somewhat to see is some reference to the other hunters from Prime Hunters. Whether it just be scans here and there to make easy reference to them, or even, you know, seeing parts of them. Maybe Sylex hunted them all down and then gotten parts of them for whatever he wants to do. I don't know. But I assume we see some sort of reference to them, especially because, you know, the game has a lot of fan service to the mobile games, to the 3DS games and DS games, and a lot of the spin-off games. So it would make sense for that. For Sylex specifically, I hope he is a returning boss or a final boss like Dark Samus of Prime 2 and 3, similar to his role in Hunters. I would like to see him, oh my god. Similar to his role in Hunters, I would like his first fight to be normal and free to win, but each subsequent fight with the showcase evolution in fighting him. Like maybe you don't leave anymore, he leaves, or you are taken to another fight after you are starting to fight him, showcasing his advancement, like he hits the ground and you start falling or something like that. Something like that just to keep it interesting, and to show that Samus just doesn't absolutely rock his shit like she did in the cutscene. I also believe we'll see a music remix of some sort that we haven't already seen. We have the Space Pirates remix, which is pretty sick, and the guitar riff is super awesome, and I can't believe it's actually in the normal mix. That's crazy. I thought it was just for Sylex. The Samus Appears fanfare is also heavenly, same with the item fanfare, which outside of the first E-Tank, which I don't really like having the expansion pickup. It's nice to see that the expansion pickup sound is normal, and the arrival on Tanamar is absolutely insane. I've brought this up like 5 times at this point, but I'm going to continue bringing it up. This thing is fucking incredible. I can't believe how good this intro looks. How good the intro is, how good the music is, like what the fuck? What did they do? Who in that studio? Who from 343, Bungie, fucking Respawn, who in that motherfucking studio cooked this shit up? Keep them there, bro! The scene looks straight out of fucking Halo, and it's perfect. Like, literally, like, I think it's probably my favorite Arrival theme that we've gotten. It is a remix of the theme of Super Metroid / the theme of Samus, which obviously plays at the beginning, and you can tell, which is also really close to the Samus' mission from Prime 3, which the instruments are probably meant to elicit that theme. Specifically more than the theme of Metroid, or theme of Super Metroid. And then obviously the next is the arrival on Aether / Norian / SR388, because Samus returns, / arrival at the Frigate Orpheon, which this refers to the Prime specific remix of the theme of Samus. Which, fun fact, theme of Samus didn't actually show up until this game, in any of the games. It's only a remix until now. And then, out of nowhere, the main fucking melody, like, I thought it was original when I first heard it. I've been replaying through Prime 1, remastered, just to do the hard mode, because I forgot I never did it, and I fucking hear this.
So getting to that, here's the first cutscene. So I won't talk too much over this. I'll let people kind of enjoy it. I can feel the table rumbling. I really like one of those ships, though.
That is a beautiful.
It turns out the arrival on Tanamar is an elaborate remix of the fucking Chozo temple theme from Phendrana Drifts. How? Bro, how? How did they manage to do this, bro? Like, it doesn't make any sense! These people are fucking wizards! Not only do they make Prime Remastered be the best looking game on the Switch, which already itself, it runs fucking perfectly, like there are no hiccups or anything like that. Somehow, on the fucking Nintendo Switch of all things, like, they also make Prime 4 be the best looking game on the Switch and the Switch 2 at the same time! How did they manage? To get things back on track. After that very long tangent. I expect we to see one more mainline game remix, probably Green Brinstar or something, looking at the lush parts of Euros, but it could also be versus Silex from Hunters or something else, we'll see. I just expect to see one more. The last thing I expect to see is an escape sequence or an on-screen countdown. Every single Prime game we've had has had some sort of escape sequence, whether it's the escape from the Frigate Orpheon, escaping Aether while fighting Dark Samus at the end of Prime 2, Prime Hunters every 20 minutes, and then Prime 3 during the freefall fight with Meta Ridley. It would be very odd for Prime 4 being so long after its predecessors and being so heavily inundated with references to its predecessors. They even brought back the fucking Federation Force suits, bro. It would be very odd to not feature some sort of countdown sequence. Alright. Unrealistic things. So this is where we get off the fucking rails. Just so you're aware, we were on the rails for that entire tangent. Now we get off the rails. Boss refights from prior games. So a concept I really enjoyed for the last Jedi game we got, Jedi Survivor, is the Force Tears, where the mini boss fights that are scattered around the map, that could be a really cool addition. They could be rationalized in the game as being psychic aberrations that increase Samus's psychic strength, and we can see a lot of fights from across the Prime series. You already know I'm bringing him up. I would love to see a Rundas refight, and also a Ridley refight, probably Omega Ridley from Prime 3, but also could be meta. One of the 3 meta fights we've had. It would make a lot of sense for Ridley not to show up, and also Rundas should have been in Smash instead of CSS. Fuck you. I will... I could make an entire another video on that, for how absolutely butchered Metroid has been in Smash, even with Ridley and Dark Samus coming into the fray in Ultimate. Because goddamn, Rundas gets no love, he's the best hunter out of all fucking 9 of them we've seen outside of Samus, like, and he should have been in Brawl instead of CSS. They had Ice Climbers, they had the Ice Mechanics there for Rundas to be there and just exist, and they didn't. Fuck you, Sakurai! Another thing I expect, I would love to see is a beam switch wheel or a weapon wheel. So, this is a weapon slot mechanic, similar to how Prime 1 did their beams, except more how Hunters did it, where you could switch between a whole shit ton of beams, kind of like Tyler Tasmanian Tiger, where you would essentially just be able to hot swap to whatever beam you would want, or whatever attack you would want. I would assume if this were to happen, we would see all 6 returning weapons from Hunters, and be able to switch between as your primary fire, and, I'd love to see Prime have a lot more different attacks available just in general, and anything that isn't represented by the 6 Hunter weapons, like, how the Judicator is more like a nice type attack, and the Imperialist is a sniper, and things like that can be filled by more beam types. Speaking of beam types, something that I wish we would see, but I know we'll never see, is the Spazer. I would love to see the Spazer beam. It's kind of one of my favorite beams just for how stupid it is. I know it's called the wide beam in some games, but it's the Spazer. And it's the only beam we haven't seen adapted into the format, because we got Wave, Ice, and Plasma in Prime 1, and we've seen the Diffusion beam at some point, I think. Well, I think that was more other end, but we still have seen the Diffusion beam somewhere. every day. And it would just be a nice unity between the two series, because it's really the only thing that hasn't been carried over. Other M had pretty much every item from Super, except for the Spacer Beam for some reason, which, that's another video. I could also just make an entire video defending Other M, but that is a flaw with Other M not having the Spacer. They can have the Hunters again, because I really did not order this correctly. I sat here writing this down at work, and I did not order this correctly. As another unrealistic wish list thing, I'd love to see all 6 of the Hunters have a unique boss fight. Whether it be exact ports from Hunters or entirely new fights, it's something fan service wise that would definitely tickle my fancy. And the last thing I expect to see, which actually is the most realistic thing of the unrealistic ideas that I had, is a reference to Aether or Brio. I wouldn't put it past Retro, but since Vero seems so far removed from the rest of the Prime lore and the rest of the Prime series, it's kind of unlikely to see those things referenced, but it would make sense somewhat because of how Aether and Brio are, just kind of like how Vero seems to be. Especially Brio. Brio and Vero seem very similar to each other in terms of their species biology, but due to how the Retro staff is currently, I would expect more of a Talos 4 reference rather than either of those, but, well, you never know. And those are all my expectations and my wish list, both realistic and unrealistic. Was I right? Was I wrong? Who knows? I'm a fanboy, so, you know, I'm always going to be hyped about it. I very much cannot wait for the game to come out. It's taken over a lot of what I've been doing. I'm playing through Fusion again. I'm playing through Metroid 2 again, because I'm also working on the reaction compilation. I got to that point in the editing, and I forgot how much I like that game, which I like all the Metroid games, obviously, but, you know, we're pulling out that tier list now. Yeah, here Metroid 2 is the third to last out of the games that I've played, but it's still a great game, and I would always go back to play it. I just hope we don't have to wait another very long time gap before we see the game after Prime 4. That's I guess the main thing that I hope we don't see anywhere. I know that's a high bar to ask, especially with how good these games are, but regardless, I'll still be here, whether it's 2 years or 15 years, and the game will be good. It's showcased that it's good, but I hope it's even better than good. I hope it's Metroid. I'll see you guys next time.